Uh, Today, continue from our earlier video, we are going to talk about long-term memory, short-term memory, and sensory memory, vis-a-vis how we allow people to control the mind, and at the same time, how we study to become successful. Memory is one way by which information is passed into us for us to be able to keep and dissect the information for our day-to-day activities. If it is the first time you are watching me, my name is Dr. Jamal Mohammed, a senior lecturer in economics and an entrepreneur. The first form of memory that we can find is what we call the sensory memory, and that is where information that is received is kept for just a very short period of time. And so, if you are a business person who wants to keep information, or you want to become very active in your day-to-day activity, or you are a student who want to be knowledgeable and be able to keep information in your memory, short-term memory is not one that can keep that information. This is where information that you receive is easily passed and it will erase if you don't take steps to make sure you keep it. The second one that you can talk about is what we call the short-term memory. With the short-term memory, information is also kept for a very short period of time. But what is good is that the short-term memory, an individual will be able to harness the potentials of the short-term memory by way of doing repetition or repetitive learning. Again, the other form of memory, which is very vital for our existence as either a student or a business person, is what we call the long-term memory. And long-term memory is where information that is being processed from the other two memories that I've talked about is stored for a very long period of time. And an example is if you see your high school mate or your primary school mate, and readily it comes to mind, you're able to remember the person, you're able to mention the name, you're able to fraternize properly. This is because that information is stored in a long-term memory. If you are a student and you want to have a memory recall, one of the easiest way you can do is first of all to follow what we call the laws of learning. One of the first principles of learning is to do vivid relationship with the material that you want to do. You vividly looked at the material and look at it properly. Whilst you do that, you write. The second thing has to do with you doing repetition. You repeat what you have studied. And once you have repeated what you have studied, it moves from the sensory memory to the short-term memory and to the long-term memory. And the last one, where you want to have a lasting impact in keeping whatever you've studied, is to do what we call association. The law of association here is where whatever that we have studied, we associate it to something that we have seen in our lives or something that we are very familiar with in our lives. In terms of business practices, make sure that information in terms of business you want to keep, you should do repetition in terms of that information and keep in the long-term memory. If you're able to keep your memory intact, you have the chance of be able to prevent people to have absolute control about your mind. Because I've always maintained that when someone has control over your mind, he has absolutely enough resources to create danger for you. And so let's begin to understand this and make sure that repetition, then vivid learn, association are these three components that can guarantee us a very important tool in terms of knowledge gathering, in terms of ability to do memory recall, in terms of us to be able to even do progressive thinking in terms of business and then education. Thank you very much.